On my 65th birthday, my daughter gave me a box containing a one-way plane ticket. "Have a nice flight," she said, while her husband just laughed. I left without saying a word. They had no idea that 2 months earlier, I had inherited $30 million, and in just a week, something would happen that they would surely regret. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. I checked my phone for the 15th time that evening. No new messages. The screen's glow illuminated 3 place settings on my dining table, each arranged with the precision I'd learned over 30 years of teaching. Silverware exactly 1 inch from the plate edges. Cloth napkins folded into perfect triangles. In the center, an apple pie cooled, filling my small Sarasota apartment with cinnamon and memories. The clock above my kitchen sink ticked louder than it had any right to. Each second felt deliberate, mocking. That morning, I'd woken with something close to excitement. 65 years old today. A milestone, Georgiana had called it, 3 weeks ago when we'd made these plans. I'd dressed in my best casual clothes, the navy slacks, the pressed white shirt, and driven to the grocery store while the Florida sun was still gentle. The cashier, a young woman with kind eyes, had smiled while scanning my items. "Special occasion? This is quite a spread." My birthday. I'd touched the small pin on my collar. "My daughter's coming for dinner." "How wonderful, 65. "Yes, a milestone," she says. She'd handed me the receipt with genuine warmth. "Well, happy birthday. She's lucky to have a dad who bakes." I'd carried those words home like a gift. "I'm the lucky one," I'd told her. The afternoon had passed in pleasant ritual. I'd pulled out Catherine's old recipe card, the one she'd written in her careful cursive 20 years before the cancer took her. My fingers had traced her handwriting. Morton's favorite apples, Granny Smith, never read delicious. And I'd followed every instruction exactly. While the pie baked, I'd wrapped the gifts I'd purchased 3 months ago. 2 watches, luxury brands, nearly $800 from my teacher's pension. Worth it, I'd thought. Worth every penny to see Georgiana's face light up. To see even Elmer manage something approaching gratitude. I'd written the cards carefully. To Georgiana, may every moment count. Love, Dad. For Elmer, to Elmer, time for new beginnings. Morton. At 4 in the afternoon, I'd sent my first text. "Looking forward to seeing you tonight." No response. At 5:30, I'd tried again. "Dinner will be ready around 7. Drive safe." Nothing. By 7:15, I'd called. Her voice on the voicemail had sounded distant, recorded months ago. "You've reached Georgiana. Leave a message and I'll get back to you." I'd kept my voice steady, casual. "Hi, sweetheart. It's Dad. Just calling to check. The dinner's ready whenever you are. No rush. I know you're busy." The beep had cut me off. "Just let me know when you're on your way. Love you." I'd set the phone down, face up beside my untouched plate. "She's just running late," I'd whispered to the empty room. By 9, the food had gone cold. I'd sat there anyway, watching the door, listening for her car in the parking lot. The wrapped gifts mocked me from the side table. I'd adjusted their position twice, as if perfect placement might summon her. At 11:47, my phone had finally buzzed. My hand had shot out, grabbed it, read the message 3 times. "Sorry, couldn't make it. We'll stop by tomorrow." No explanation, no real apology. Just those 8 words, delivered with the casualness of someone canceling a dentist appointment. I'd typed a response. "I waited all day. What happened?" Deleted it, typed again. "Is everything okay?" Deleted that too. Finally, I'd just left it on read. The silence that followed felt different than the silence before. This one had weight, texture. This one changed things. I'd stood slowly, walked to the pie with its 65 unlit candles. I'd planned to light them when she arrived, sing to myself as a joke, make her laugh. Instead, I'd remove them one by one, methodically, dropping each into the trash. The reversal of the ritual felt significant, though I couldn't yet name why. I'd wrapped everything then. Put the food in containers, folded the napkins, wiped down surfaces that didn't need wiping. Then I'd retrieved the old photograph from my bookshelf, 10 years old, maybe more. The 3 of us at Siesta Key Beach, Georgiana's arms around both me and Catherine, everyone grinning at the camera. The sun had been setting behind us, painting everything gold. I'd held it under the lamp, studying my daughter's face. Where had that girl gone? The one who'd begged me to make this pie every Sunday, who'd shown up at my classroom after school just to walk home with me, who'd cried in my arms when her mother died and whispered, "Don't ever leave me too, Daddy." What had happened to us? Or, the thought arrived cold and clear. What had happened to her? I'd set the photo down, face flat on the table, couldn't look at it anymore. My home office was just a converted closet, really. A desk, a filing cabinet, a shelf of books I'd taught from for 3 decades. I'd unlocked the desk drawer with the key on my keychain, moved aside old grade books and teaching awards, and pulled out the manila envelope. Inheritance documents, William Watkins Estate, read the label in the lawyer's printed text. I hadn't opened it in the 2 months since it had arrived, hadn't needed to. I'd memorized the contents. $30 million from my Uncle William's timber business, passed to me as the last surviving Watkins male. The will had been clear, the lawyers insistent. The money was mine, legally and completely. I'd been planning to tell Georgiana tomorrow, had practiced the words. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about something important. Your great-uncle William passed away, and he left us, well, he left me, but really us, something substantial. I'd been planning to give her half, my only child, my everything." I'd carried the envelope to my armchair and sat in darkness, feeling its weight on my lap. $30 million, I'd said to the empty room. 2 months I've had this news. I was going to tell you tomorrow, share it with you. The clock had ticked, the refrigerator had hummed. I was going to give you half, my only child, my everything. But sitting there, holding that envelope, I'd felt something shift, a realization settling into my bones like cold water. You don't see me as your father anymore. You see me as, what? A burden? An obstacle? My hands had tightened on the envelope. Then maybe it's time you learned what you actually lost. I'd placed it on the coffee table, both palms flat on top, and stared ahead until the sun began to rise. Morning light woke me. I was still in the armchair, still dressed, my neck stiff from the awkward angle. The inheritance envelope had slipped to the floor during the night. I picked it up, smoothed its edges, set it back on the coffee table. Every joint protested as I stood. 65 years announcing themselves all at once. The apartment looked exactly as I'd left it. Wrapped gifts on the side table, containers of food in the refrigerator, the pie under its glass dome. Evidence of yesterday's hope, now just debris. I walked to the bathroom, showered, changed into fresh clothes. Khakis today, a polo shirt, nothing special. The mirror showed a tired man, but a steady one. The drive to Bayside took 15 minutes through familiar Sarasota streets. I knew the route by heart, had driven it hundreds of times when the house at the end of it had been mine. 5 years ago, I'd signed the deed over to Georgiana. A gift, I'd thought. Security for her future. A way to say, I trust you with what I built. I parked across the street and studied the property before approaching. The lawn needed mowing, badly. I'd never let it get this long. The sprinkler head near the driveway was broken, water pooling in the grass. The shutters needed paint, white flakes curling away from the wood. And there in the driveway, gleaming like an accusation, sat Elmer's new Audi Q7. $75,000. Easy. Maybe more. I sat in my 15-year-old Honda and made mental notes of everything. Finally, I crossed the street and climbed the 3 porch steps I'd built with my own hands 17 years ago. Before I could knock, the door opened. Georgiana stood there in athletic wear that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her expression flickered, surprise, then annoyance, then something like forced pleasantness. "Dad, you're here? You said you'd stop by today." I kept my voice level. "I thought I'd save you the trip." She didn't invite me in. We stood at the threshold of what used to be my home, me on the outside. "About last night," she started. "What happened?" "Oh, Dad, work stuff came up, last minute. You know how Elmer's projects are. You couldn't send a message earlier, before 11 at night?" Her irritation sharpened. "I said I'm sorry. We're here now, aren't we?" "Well, you're here." I noted the correction, the slip in her words. "Yes, I'm here." She disappeared inside for a moment, returned with a small box. The wrapping paper was cheap, applied hastily. She handed it to me without ceremony. "Here's your birthday gift, Dad. Sorry it's late." I took it with both hands. "You didn't need to get me anything." "Of course we did. It's your birthday." I opened it slowly, peeling back tape, unfolding paper. Inside was a printed airline ticket, not in a card, not in an envelope, just loose in the box like an afterthought. I read it carefully. Orlando International. Departure. May 17th, tomorrow. 1 passenger, 1 way. Orlando. I looked up at her. 1 week at a resort. Well, the flight there. You can figure out hotels. 1-way ticket, I said quietly. Oh, is it? She blinked too quickly. Must have been the website. You can book the return whenever. The lie hung between us like smoke. Happy flight, Dad. I searched her face for something. Regret, affection, recognition of what she'd just done. Found nothing. Happy flight, I repeated softly. You'll love getting away. You've been cooped up in that apartment too long. Have I? Absolutely. Retirement should be about adventures. Adventures, yes. Footsteps sounded from inside the house. Elmer appeared from the hallway, barefoot on my old hardwood floors. He wore designer jeans and a Rolex that caught the light. $8,000 on his wrist, minimum. Mort, getting a vacation, huh? I turned to face him, let 3 seconds pass before I spoke. Elmer, time to see the world, man. Plane leaves tomorrow. You'll love Orlando. Disney, beaches, all that. I taught American history for 30 years. I know what's in Orlando. He laughed, genuinely amused. Right. Professor? Well, now you can see it as a tourist instead of just talking about it. My voice dropped. I never just talked about anything. Something in my tone made his smile falter, just for a second. Then it was back, wider than before. I folded the ticket carefully, 3 precise creases, each pressed with my thumbnail. The way I used to fold papers for filing. I slid it into my shirt pocket, patted it twice. Thank you for the gift, Georgiana. I turned toward the steps. Dad, we'll call you later this week. I paused, didn't turn back. Will you? Of course. Have a safe flight tomorrow. Thank you for the gift, Georgiana. You're welcome. Enjoy. I will. I walked down the steps, across the lawn I used to mow every Saturday to my car, each movement measured, controlled. I didn't look back until I was behind the wheel. In the rearview mirror, I saw them still standing in the doorway. Georgiana said something to Elmer. He laughed. My hands gripped the steering wheel. They were trembling, but not from fear or sadness. This was something else, something colder, something that felt like clarity distilled into physical force. I started the engine, checked my mirrors, pulled away at exactly the speed limit. They wanted me gone, believed they'd succeeded in dismissing me, probably thought I'd get on that plane tomorrow, drift away to Orlando, maybe never come back. An obstacle removed, a burden lifted. What they didn't know, what they couldn't imagine, was what I carried in the safe back at my apartment. The envelope they'd never seen. The 30 million reasons they'd just made the worst mistake of their lives. I drove through morning traffic, already thinking 3 moves ahead. They wanted me gone. They'd get their wish. But not the way they imagined. I didn't drive straight home. My hands gripped the steering wheel while I navigated through downtown Sarasota, past the bay where sailboats drifted in afternoon light, along streets I'd known for 30 years. The one-way ticket sat in my shirt pocket like a stone. My mind kept replaying the confrontation. Georgiana's false smile, bright, empty, practiced. Elmer barefoot in my house, that Rolex catching sunlight, his casual contempt dripping from every word. Time to see the world, Mort. The way he'd said my name, clipping it short, refusing the respect of Morton or Sir. A one-way ticket to Orlando, not Paris, not California. Orlando, 45 minutes away. They didn't even want me gone, just out of sight, out of the house. I pulled into Bayfront Park, chose a spot facing the Gulf. The engine ticked as it cooled. I retrieved the ticket from my pocket, unfolded it, studied the details again. Flight 2847, MCO, May 17th, 06:45 a.m. one way. One way, I said to the empty car. $30 million in my account, and my daughter gives me a one-way ticket to Orlando. The absurdity cut deeper than the cruelty. I refolded the ticket along its original creases, placed it in my glove compartment, not throwing it away, saving it, and closed the compartment with a decisive click. Evidence. I was already thinking in terms of evidence. 20 minutes later, I climbed the stairs to my apartment. Second floor, Building C, Unit 207 of Pelican Point Apartments. $1,100 a month for a one-bedroom place I'd chosen because it was close to Georgiana, close to family. The proximity felt like a mistake now. I unlocked the door, set my keys in the small dish by the entrance, habit from teaching, everything in its designated place, and walked to my kitchen. The apartment looked exactly as I'd left it, clean, orderly, temporary. Even after 5 years, I'd never fully settled in. Part of me had always expected to be welcomed back to the family home for dinners, for holidays, for lazy Sunday afternoons. That expectation felt foolish now. I made coffee with mechanical precision, ground the beans, medium roast from Sarasota Coffee Company, measured 8 ounces of water, set the French press timer for 4 minutes. While waiting, I stood at the kitchen window overlooking the parking lot, not really seeing it. "Happy flight, Dad," her voice replayed in my head. When the timer beeped, I poured coffee into my favorite mug, the one Georgiana had given me 15 years ago, "World's Best Dad," printed in fading letters, and carried it to my small office. The second bedroom held floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, American history texts, presidential biographies, my old lecture notes bound in 3-ring binders. In the closet, behind winter coats I'd kept, despite Florida's weather, sat my fireproof safe. I knelt, right knee cracking slightly. My fingers found the combination dial. Right to 07, left past 07 to 15, right to 42. Catherine's birthday. The mechanism clicked. I paused before opening it, hand on the handle, taking a deliberate breath. Inside, arranged neatly, Catherine's engagement ring in its velvet box, my father's pocket watch, my birth certificate, and beneath everything, protected and waiting, the manila envelope marked "Estate of William J. Watkins, Confidential." I lifted it with both hands and carried it to the kitchen table. The envelope seal had been broken 2 months ago when I'd first received it. I spread the contents carefully. Attorney's letter in the center, bank statements to the left, tax documents to the right, legal transfer papers below, creating a visual map of my new reality. I put on my reading glasses and began reviewing documents I'd already memorized. "Dear Mr. Watkins, it is my duty to inform you that you are the sole beneficiary of your Uncle William J. Watkins's estate." I set the letter down. Sole beneficiary, Uncle William, who I met twice in my life, once at my wedding, once at Dad's funeral. I picked up the bank statement from Fidelity. The numbers sat there, undeniable, $30,087,450.12. He leaves me $30 million, and I was planning to give half to Georgiana. My voice sounded strange in the quiet apartment. $15 million, for what? For her to buy a bigger house to kick me out of? A laugh escaped, short, bitter, humorless. I taught ethics for 3 decades, taught about fairness, about responsibility. And my own daughter? I stopped myself. This wasn't about what she'd become. This was about what I was going to do about it. I pulled out a yellow legal pad, the same kind I'd used for lecture planning for 30 years, and wrote "Project" at the top. No other name, just that single word. Below it, I began numbering points. "Point 1, I said quietly, pen moving across paper. "Their debts. How much? To whom?" I wrote it, then added subpoints: credit cards, car loans, mortgage status, why they need money urgently. Point 2, the house. What are my legal rights? I'd given them the property, yes, but I'd kept something called a life estate. What did that mean legally? Could they force me out? Could they sell without my consent? More notes, more questions. Point 3, timeline. When did they decide to get rid of me? Before my birthday? Months ago? The ticket hadn't been a spontaneous insult. It had been purchased in advance, wrapped, presented with deliberate cruelty. My handwriting remained steady, controlled. The same script I'd used on chalkboards for 3 decades. I underlined everything twice under point 1. Below the numbered list, I added one final note. They plan this. Find out when. The pen tapped twice on the paper. Period at the end of my decision. I sat back, studying the legal pad, the documents, the evidence of wealth they didn't know existed. The hurt from yesterday was still there, but it had transformed into something colder, sharper, more useful. They wanted me gone. They'd get their wish. But first, they'd learn exactly what that cost them. The next 2 weeks, I became a detective. My kitchen table transformed into a command center, printouts from legal websites, notes about private investigation agencies, lists of questions in my careful handwriting. I'd called 6 different firms, asking detailed questions about capabilities, legality, confidentiality. 5 were eliminated, unprofessional or too expensive, or something in their voices that suggested corner cutting. The 6th was Pinkerton, licensed, thorough, discreet. I scheduled an appointment for the following Tuesday. During those days, Georgiana texted twice. The first arrived on May 18th. "Did you use the flight?" I didn't respond. The second came 4 days later. "Dad, are you okay? Call me." Again, silence. Let them wonder. Let them worry. On May 21st, I drove to Tampa. The Pinkerton office occupied a professional building near the courthouse. Glass door, reception area with leather chairs, framed licenses on the wall, proving legitimacy. Marcus Webb emerged from a back office right on time. Mid-40s, fit, wearing business casual clothing that suggested competence without flash. His handshake was firm, professional. We sat in a small conference room. I slid a typed sheet across the table. Georgiana's full legal name, birth date, social security number. Same information for Elmer. Their address, my former address, employment details, phone numbers. Webb reviewed the list without judgment. "This is very thorough," he said. "You've done your homework." I was a history professor. Research is second nature. "What exactly are you hoping to find, Mr. Watkins?" I met his eyes directly. "The truth. I suspect my daughter and son-in-law are in significant debt. I suspect they have plans involving property I own. I need facts. And if the facts confirm your suspicions, then I'll know what I'm dealing with." Webb nodded slowly. "This is about protecting yourself legally?" I paused, choosing words carefully. "This is about understanding the full situation before I make decisions. Informed decisions." He explained what he could legally investigate. Credit reports with proper authorization, public records, social media analysis, observational surveillance in public spaces. What he couldn't do, hack accounts, trespass, wiretap phones. I understood perfectly. Can you determine their conversations in public places, bars, restaurants? If they discuss private matters in public spaces, yes, it's legal. Do it. He quoted the price, $5,000 retainer, $3,000 on completion, 10 to 14 days for comprehensive results. I pulled out my checkbook, not my regular account, but the new one opened specifically for inheritance funds. The checks were pristine, barely used. I wrote carefully, $5,000, signed Morton R. Watkins. The sound of the check tearing along its perforation felt decisive. Webb receipted it immediately. We shook hands again. 2 weeks, he confirmed. I left without looking back. The waiting period passed in carefully maintained routines. Grocery shopping on Tuesdays, library visits on Thursdays, daily walks through my neighborhood. But underneath the normalcy, everything had changed. At Publix, I stood behind an elderly woman at checkout. She counted change from a cloth purse, hands trembling slightly. The total was $38.21. She had $29.74. The cashier, young, impatient, sighed audibly. The woman started removing items, bread, milk, eggs. I watched this and saw a possible future if I'd been truly poor, truly dependent on my daughter's charity. I stepped forward, handed the cashier my credit card. "I'll cover the difference." The woman protested weakly. I cut her off gently. "Please, it's done." Outside in my car, I sat for 5 minutes processing what I'd witnessed. The casual cruelty of impatience, the dignity required to accept help, the thin line between independence and desperation. At Selby Library, I checked out books about elder financial abuse, family law, property rights in Florida. The librarian read the titles as she scanned them. "Heavy reading. Research project?" You could say that. Her concern showed in her expression. "Everything all right? Some of these are about elder abuse." I met her eyes, managed a small smile. "Just educating myself. Prevention is better than cure. If you ever need resources, community services, I appreciate that, truly. But I'm fine. Just interested in the subject." She didn't look entirely convinced. Well, knowledge is power. I picked up the books. Yes, it is. Georgiana texted again on May 25th. This silence is childish. I set my phone down without responding. 5 days later, another message. Fine, whatever, good. Let her stew in uncertainty. On June 4th, my phone rang. Webb's voice carried a certain weight. Mr. Watkins, we've completed the investigation. Can you come to the office? I think you'll want to see this in person. The tone told me everything. I drove to Tampa immediately. Webb spread documents across the conference table like a prosecutor presenting evidence. Credit reports showing red flags everywhere. Bank statements, legally obtained through their careless privacy settings. Loan documents, payment histories. Your daughter and her husband have $180,000 in combined debts, Webb said, watching my reaction. I showed none. Breakdown? He listed it methodically. $45,000 in credit card debt across 7 cards, $75,000 car loan on Elmer's Audi Q7, $35,000 in home improvement loans, $25,000 in personal loans. They're making minimum payments, Webb continued, barely surviving financially. 1 missed payment from serious consequences. I absorbed this information silently. There's something else. Webb picked up his phone, cued an audio file. I spent 3 evenings at Sharky's bar, where Mr. Clarkson meets friends on Tuesdays. He talks, a lot. He pressed play. Bar noise filled the room. Laughter, clinking glasses, muffled conversations. Then Elmer's voice cut through, clear and unmistakable. Mort's taking a permanent vacation. Got him a one-way ticket, man. He'll figure it out. Male laughter. House is worth $850 easy. Mortgage is only $250 left. We'll clear $600 after everything. Another voice, indistinct. He know? Elmer again. Nah, he won't fight it. Old guy's got nothing. Pension barely covers his apartment. He's an anchor, man. Finally getting that weight off our backs. More laughter. Webb stopped the recording. I sat perfectly still. Can I have a copy? Flash drive or email? Flash drive. 2 copies. Webb made them while I waited. I placed both in my shirt pocket, buttoned the pocket shut. This is admissible? I asked. In civil court, yes. He's in a public place. No expectation of privacy under Florida law. When was this recorded? May 23rd, Tuesday night, approximately 9 p.m. I calculated quickly. 1 week after my birthday. 1 week after the ticket. You want my professional opinion? I looked up. Please. They've been planning this for a while. This wasn't a sudden decision. The ticket was step 1. What would be step 2? Webb chose his words carefully. Based on their conversations, their financial pressure, their timeline, I'd say they're waiting for you to leave town, then filing to sell the property. They'd argue abandonment, life estate forfeiture. I stood, collecting the dossier, the flash drives, the evidence of betrayal reduced to paper and digital files. Thank you, Mr. Webb. You've been thorough. I pulled out my checkbook again, wrote the final payment, $3,000. At the door, Webb spoke once more. What are you going to do? I turned back, meeting his eyes. Make sure they don't get step 2. In my car, before starting the engine, I allowed myself 1 moment. I placed both hands on the steering wheel and closed my eyes. When I opened them, any remaining doubt had vanished. They hadn't just hurt me. They'd planned to erase me. The recording played in my mind, finally getting that anchor off our backs. An anchor. $30 million in my account. And my daughter's husband called me an anchor. I started the car and drove back to Sarasota with absolute clarity. They wanted freedom from their burden. They'd get it, just not the way they imagined. The morning after receiving Webb's report, I sat at my kitchen table at 7:55, watching the clock. The detective's dossier lay spread before me like evidence at a trial. At exactly 8 o'clock, I dialed. Stanford and Associates, Property Law. How may I help you? The receptionist's voice was professional, efficient. I need to consult with Mr. Stanford regarding life estate property rights and potential gift revocation. It's somewhat urgent. A pause. Keyboard clicking. Mr. Stanford has an opening this afternoon at 3. Would that work? I wrote it on my legal pad. 3 p.m., Stanford. Perfect. The legal machinery had begun moving. At 2:45, I arrived at the law office, downtown Sarasota, 10th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. 15 minutes early. Old teaching habit. Roy Stanford emerged from his private office right on time. Mid-50s, silver hair, Brooks Brothers suit, handshake that conveyed both confidence and assessment. We sat in a conference room with a view of sailboats drifting in afternoon light. I laid out the documents methodically. The deed transfer from 5 years ago, the life estate clause I'd retained, the one-way ticket still in its protective sleeve, the detective's comprehensive findings about their debts and recorded conversations. Stanford took notes, asked clarifying questions, never showed shock, just professional evaluation. You gave them the house outright 5 years ago? Yes, I wanted to help. I thought we were family. He examined the life estate clause. But you retain these rights. Smart. Why? My attorney at the time insisted, said I needed security. I didn't think I'd need it. Stanford looked up. You need it now? This clause is your leverage. They can't force you out legally. They're trying anyway. He tapped the one-way ticket. This is constructive eviction, combined with their financial motive. His finger moved to the debt breakdown. You have grounds for complete gift revocation. Can I really take the house back? With proper legal procedure and this evidence? Absolutely. He leaned back. The question is, do you want to? I considered my answer carefully. I want options. I want them to understand there are consequences. Stanford nodded slowly. Then he stood, walked to a whiteboard, and drew diagrams. The teacher in me appreciated the method. Life estate means you retain the right to occupy the property until death. They own it, but can't force you out or sell without your consent. Arrows showing my retained power. If you can demonstrate they're constructively evicting you, making conditions untenable, forcing you to leave, you have grounds for revocation. Is a one-way ticket evidence? Combined with their debt situation and stated intention to sell? Absolutely. It establishes motive and action. We spent 2 hours developing strategy. First, establish constructive eviction. Second, prepare revocation documents but don't file yet. Hold them as leverage. Third, change my will immediately. Fourth, protect the inheritance. Stanford suggested something else. There's another option, non-legal but effective. I'm listening. Make the inheritance public. Media interview, local news, talk about your unexpected windfall. I frowned. Why would I do that? Because right now, they think you're powerless. They're waiting for you to leave so they can sell your house. If they discover you have $30 million, understanding dawned. They'll panic. They'll realize they miscalculated. Exactly. It's psychological warfare, not legal action. Perfectly legal. Might even be therapeutic. I felt a slow smile form. They'd see it on television. They would. How they react tells you everything you need to know about their real motivations. The next 3 weeks became a carefully orchestrated series of legal actions. 1 week in, I met with Emily Chen, Stanford's estate specialist. Young, efficient, sharp-eyed. Your current will leaves everything to your daughter Georgiana. You want to change this? Completely. And the new beneficiary? I'd thought about this carefully. A foundation for elder abuse prevention. I'll call it the Catherine Watkins Foundation. Emily's pen paused. Your late wife's name? Yes. She'd have wanted something good to come from this. The amount involved is substantial. Have you considered partial inheritance for your daughter? I met her eyes. She made her choice when she gave me that ticket. I'm making mine now. Understood. I'll draft the documents. This will require 2 witnesses and notarization. Whatever it takes, I want it ironclad. I signed page after page. My hand didn't shake. Each signature was deliberate, firm, final. Blue ink, Stanford's instruction, shows original, not copy. The notary, Margaret Russo, watched me sign the most critical documents, then applied her seal with satisfying precision. The embossed impression looked official, permanent. These are legally binding, Mr. Watkins. Store them safely. I will. At Sun Trust Bank, with Stanford's associate as witness, I opened new accounts and transferred the entire inheritance. $30,087,450.12. The bank manager offered premium services, wealth management, investment portfolios. Just a secure checking account and a high-yield savings account. Simple. With this amount, you could... I interrupted gently. I don't need complicated. I need protected. This money serves a specific purpose. May I ask what purpose? Justice. And eventually, helping people who have been where I am. A pause. Some understanding passed between us. I'll ensure maximum security protocols on this account. Thank you. One more thing. I want all statements sent to my attorney's office, not my home. Done. During the second week, my phone rang. Georgiana's name on the screen. I considered not answering, but curiosity won. Hello? Her voice carried irritation. Dad, when are you going to use that ticket? It's been sitting there for weeks. I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by legal documents I was signing. I've been busy. Busy with what? You're retired. With my affairs, getting things in order. Whatever, the ticket expires in 2 months, use it or lose it. I'll keep that in mind. I ended the call and returned to signing revocation papers. Her voice already felt distant, disconnected from my new reality. On June 21st, I returned to Stanford's office for final review. He spread documents across the conference table like a general displaying battle plans. Revocation papers drafted, notarized, ready to file. New will executed and sealed. Bank transfer confirmations. Evidence compilation organized and indexed. Correspondence log documenting every interaction with Georgiana. Stanford placed his hand on the stack. This represents complete legal protection and multiple strategic options. I examined each document one final time, then nodded. He slid everything into a premium leather portfolio. I accepted it, felt its weight, not just paper, but power, options, justice waiting to be deployed. What's the process if I decide to execute the revocation? File these papers with the county clerk. They'll be served with notice. 30-day response period, then a hearing if they contest. They'll contest. Almost certainly, which is why the evidence matters. Their debts, the ticket, the recorded conversations. It builds an overwhelming case. Timeline? From filing to final ruling? 3 to 4 months, maybe longer if they fight hard. And the will change is immediate. The moment you signed it. If something happens to you tomorrow, everything goes to the foundation. I stood, adjusting my jacket. Good. Thank you, Roy. You've given me what I needed. He also stood, shaking my hand. Which is? The ability to respond appropriately. They thought I was powerless. I picked up the leather portfolio. Now I'm not. With the legal foundation secure, I moved to the next phase. Stanford had called it psychological warfare. I called it information distribution. I sat at my laptop, researching local media contacts. WFLA Tampa Bay's Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories segment caught my attention. Perfect for my purposes. I typed carefully, Dear WFLA Programming, I'm a 67-year-old retired history professor with a story I believe would resonate with your viewers. After living modestly on a teacher's pension for years, I recently inherited $30 million from a distant relative I barely knew. This unexpected change has given me perspective I'd like to share with other seniors about hope and possibility at any age. I have complete documentation and would be honored to participate in your segment. I attached a professional photo of myself. Clicked send. At 2:47 that afternoon, my phone rang. Henrietta Morgan, producer. Interested. Could we meet tomorrow? We met at Perk Coffee Bar. She arrived exactly on time. Mid-40s, professional warmth, tablet in hand. I paid for our coffee, then told my story. 3 decades teaching young people, living carefully on pension. Uncle William in Boston, saw him twice in my life. The attorney's call in March, the overwhelming amount, the disbelief. Walk me through the moment you found out. Where were you? In my car. The attorney called, asked me to come to his office in Tampa. Wouldn't say why. You drove not knowing? I assumed it was about settling Uncle William's affairs, maybe a keepsake, some photos. And when he told you? I paused, let genuine emotion surface. He slid the bank statement across his desk. I looked at the number, then at him, then back at the number. I said, "This can't be right." What did he say? "It's very right, Mr. Watkins. Congratulations." But I didn't feel congratulated. I felt terrified. She leaned forward. Terrified? That's an interesting word. $30 million changes everything. Responsibilities, relationships, risks. It's not just money, it's weight. She took notes, nodding. What do you hope viewers take away from your story? That life can surprise you. At 67, I thought my story was written. Teacher, retired, living simply. Then this. And now? Now I have the chance to help others. Create opportunities that didn't exist before. You mentioned a foundation? Yes, education-focused. Helping people who face obstacles, who need support. Can we talk about your family in the interview? Children? I pause carefully. I have a daughter, but I'd prefer to keep the focus on the broader message, hope, possibility, giving back. Of course, whatever you're comfortable with. Thank you. This story isn't about my personal life. It's about inspiring others. We scheduled filming for June 5th, 1 week away. That evening, I pulled up my existing conference registration, American Historical Association, Pacific Northwest Regional Conference, June 10th through 13th, Vancouver. I'd registered in January, back when life was different. Now it served a different purpose. I booked my flight. Alaska Airlines, direct Sarasota, Vancouver, June 10th morning, departure. Reserved hotel room at the Fairmont, Vancouver. Printed my itinerary. The conference was real, the trip legitimate, the timing perfect. Interview airs, June 11th evening, Florida time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd be settled in my hotel, able to watch online, completely unreachable except through phone, which I could control. June 5th arrived. The WFLA crew came to my apartment. Henrietta, camera operator named Travis, sound technician named Lisa. They spent 20 minutes setting up, lights, microphone, camera angles. Henrietta positioned me in my armchair, family photos visible in background. I'd arranged them yesterday intentionally. Morton, you taught American history for 3 decades. Did those years prepare you for this? In unexpected ways. I taught about people who faced impossible situations. Depression, wars, social upheaval. They adapted. They found purpose. And you're finding your purpose now? I'm trying. At my age, you realize time is precious. This inheritance isn't just money, it's opportunity to make a difference. What would you say to other seniors watching this, maybe struggling financially? I looked directly at the camera. Don't give up. Life has chapters we haven't read yet. I lived modestly for years, thought that was my story's end. Then everything changed. Your change might not be an inheritance, but there's always possibility. That's a powerful message. It's the truth. I taught history. I know that people are resilient, surprising, capable of transformation at any age. I showed my documents, bank statements with account numbers professionally redacted, inheritance paperwork with notary seal visible, all legitimate, privacy protected, carefully controlled. The filming took 90 minutes. When finished, Henrietta smiled. This will air next Tuesday evening, June 11th. We'll send you a link. I'll be traveling, but I'll watch online. The next 5 days passed in careful preparation. I packed for Vancouver, actually planned to attend some conference sessions, maintaining normalcy, but I also set my phone notifications, bookmarked WFLA's live stream, downloaded their app, tested everything. June 10th, early morning. I drove to Sarasota Bradenton Airport, checked my suitcase, passed through security. At the gate, I texted Stanford. Traveling as discussed, interview airs tomorrow evening, we'll monitor remotely. His response came quickly. Understood, standing by. If they contact you, I won't answer immediately. Let them process. Let them panic. Psychologically sound. Though as your attorney, I should note you're under no obligation to respond at all. I know, but eventually I'll respond. On my terms, my timeline. Keep me posted. The revocation papers are ready when you are. Thank you, Roy, for everything. I boarded flight AS-714, found my window seat, watched Florida disappear below. Tomorrow, everything changed. Today I was just a retired professor going to an academic conference. I checked into the Fairmont, Vancouver that afternoon. Room 1847, 18th floor, city view. Unpacked efficiently. Set up my laptop on the desk facing the window. Tested the hotel Wi-Fi, strong signal. Confirmed WFLA stream worked. Set volume to comfortable level. Positioned my phone on the desk beside the laptop. Charger connected. Pulled up Georgiana's contact, not to call, just to see it there, ready to receive her inevitable panic. At the conference registration, I ran into Professor Williams, a colleague from years ago. Morton, didn't expect to see you here. How's retirement treating you? Better than expected, actually. Keeping busy. Still writing? Not academically, but working on some projects, personal ones. Good for you. So many retirees lose purpose. You seem energized. I manage a slight smile. I've found new purpose recently. Unexpected developments. Mysterious, I like it. Dinner tonight? Actually, I have something scheduled this evening. Tomorrow? Sure, see you then. June 11th. I attended the morning keynote, took notes, participated in discussions. Normal academic behavior. But my real focus was elsewhere. At 2 o'clock Vancouver time, 5 p.m. Florida, I returned to my hotel room, set up my laptop, opened the WFLA live stream, adjusted the volume. My phone sat beside it, silenced, waiting. I'd positioned myself 2,500 miles from the explosion I was about to trigger. At 2:45, I settled into the desk chair, checked the stream one more time, working perfectly. At 3 o'clock exactly, 6 p.m. in Florida, the Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories opening credits began. I took a breath. Somewhere in Sarasota, my daughter was about to discover that the powerless old man she'd dismissed as an anchor had $30 million she knew nothing about. The segment began. My face filled the screen. And I pressed play. At precisely 3 o'clock Vancouver time, the WFLA stream loaded on my laptop. The Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories logo appeared with its uplifting music. I sat motionless in the desk chair, hands folded, phone on silent 6 inches to my right. I'd been waiting for this moment for weeks. Henrietta Morgan appeared on screen, professional and warm. Life can surprise us when we least expect it. Tonight's story is about second chances and unexpected blessings. Cut to my face, my apartment in the background. I watch myself begin telling the story, seeing it as Georgiana would see it, her father, whom she dismissed as a poor burden, speaking calmly about millions of dollars. Morton, when did you learn about the inheritance? March 15th, an attorney in Boston called. My Uncle William had passed. And you hadn't been close? We'd met twice in my life, once at my wedding, once at my father's funeral, but he never forgot me. 6 minutes in, Henrietta asked the key question. And the amount of the inheritance? On screen I paused. I'd timed this beat perfectly during filming, then said quietly, $30,087,450. The camera held on my face, showing genuine disbelief, then cut to the bank documents. The numbers were clear even with redactions. An amount that would change anyone's life, Henrietta continued, especially someone living on a teacher's pension. I watched this revelation, knowing that at this exact moment in Florida, Georgiana was seeing this number, the number she never knew existed, the number that made the one-way ticket look like what it was, a dismissal of someone she thought was worthless. The segment ran 8 minutes, 47 seconds. When it ended with Henrietta's closing, a reminder that life's most surprising chapters can come at any age, I allowed myself a small exhale. Then I waited. 90 seconds later, my phone screen lit up. Georgiana calling? I didn't answer. It stopped, immediately started again. Text messages began flooding in. I'd set notifications to display without sound, and now they scrolled faster than I could read. Dad, is this real? Call me now. Why didn't you tell us? Dad, please call me. This is important. Then Elmer. Mort, saw the news? WTF, man? You got $30 million and gave us a hard time about the ticket? Call us back. This is serious. I read each message completely, analyzing word choice, punctuation, the progression of tone. Georgiana's first, lowercase dad, 3 question marks, 3 exclamation points, shock. Elmer's first, disrespectful nickname, inappropriate language, anger. Georgiana's third, all caps, no question mark. Demand, not question. Within 5 minutes, my phone showed 7 missed calls, 14 text messages. The desperation escalated with each message. Georgiana, we need to talk immediately. Then, please, Dad, please call. The capitalization grew more frantic, the punctuation more desperate. I sat for 10 minutes watching the messages accumulate, my phone vibrating with new attempts to reach me. Then I picked it up. I didn't call. Instead, I typed one message. Thank you for the birthday ticket. I used it in my own way. Perhaps take some time to think about your actions. I read it 3 times, measured, fair, honest. I sent it to both Georgiana and Elmer simultaneously. Watched delivered appear beneath each message. Then I navigated to settings, found the focus controls, enabled, block selected contacts, 48 hours. Added both their numbers. The action took 90 seconds. When complete, the phone went quiet. I placed it back on the desk. Screen down this time. Done. An hour later, I called room service. Salmon, rice, vegetables. The young man who delivered, name tag read Justin, was cheerful. Anything else you need tonight, sir? No, thank you. This is perfect. You here for business or pleasure? A conference. History professors, rather dry stuff. He smiled. Sounds interesting to me. I'm studying history at UBC, actually. Then you've chosen a worthy path. What's your focus? Pacific Northwest Indigenous history. Critical work. Someone needs to tell those stories properly. That's the goal. Enjoy your dinner, sir. Thank you. Good luck with your studies. When he left, I ate slowly at the desk, fork in one hand, conference program in the other. Reviewing tomorrow's schedule, 9 a.m. keynote, 11 a.m. panel on teaching difficult histories, 2 p.m. discussion on primary source analysis, normal academic pursuits. Meanwhile, in Florida, my daughter was experiencing a very different kind of education. I finished dinner, placed the tray outside my door, and called Stanford from the hotel phone. Roy, it's Morton, using hotel line. Saw the broadcast online. Well done, professional, compelling. The response was immediate. 7 calls, 14 texts within 5 minutes. Expected. How did you reply? 1 text. Thanked them for the ticket, suggested they reflect on their actions, then blocked them for 48 hours. Psychologically devastating. They can't respond, can't negotiate, can't control. That's the idea. Let them sit with it. No resolution, no closure. When do you return? 3 days. Conference ends the 13th. I'll fly back the 14th. I'll be ready. They'll likely have tried to reach me too. Don't respond yet. Let them scramble. Understood. Enjoy Vancouver. You've earned some peace. After we hung up, I stood at the hotel window. Floor-to-ceiling glass, 18th floor, panoramic view of Vancouver's evening cityscape. I held my coffee cup and watched lights come on in buildings across the city. I was physically in Canada, but mentally calculating what was happening 2,500 miles south. Georgiana pacing her house, my house. Elmer probably drinking. Both desperate to reach me, unable to. The distance felt appropriate, geographic space matching emotional space. I stayed at the window for 20 minutes, occasionally sipping coffee, mostly just existing in the quiet aftermath of the explosion I'd set off. My reflection in the glass showed a man at peace with his choices. Tomorrow I'd attend academic panels about constitutional history. Tonight, in Florida, my daughter was learning what happens when you discard family like trash. I took another sip. The city lights blurred in the window's reflection. Phase 1 complete. I later learned what happened while I watched Vancouver's lights. June 12th, 7 in the morning, Georgiana sat at her kitchen table, my former kitchen, staring at her phone screen. Message not delivered. She'd tried 15 times overnight. Blocked, blocked, blocked. Elmer paced behind her, already agitated. We need to go to his apartment, now. They drove to Pelican Point Apartments, my rental complex. Found unit C207. Elmer pounded on the door. No answer. He tried calling again, still blocked. Next door, Mrs. Patterson emerged from C205, curious and concerned. Can I help you? Georgiana forced a smile. We're looking for Morton Watkins. I'm his daughter. Mrs. Patterson's face softened. Oh, how nice. Morton mentioned you. He's away at a conference this week. Canada, Vancouver, I think. History professors gathering. Georgiana's smile cracked. Vancouver. International, intentionally unreachable. You must be Georgiana, Mrs. Patterson continued. Morton showed me pictures. You were just a little girl in them. That was a long time ago. Georgiana's voice was tight. Do you know when he'll be back? He said about a week. Left Monday. Seemed very happy about the trip. Elmer interrupted. Did he mention anything else? Any financial news? Mrs. Patterson looked confused. Financial news? Not to me. We mostly talk about books. He's such a thoughtful man. That word, thoughtful, made Georgiana flinch. Thank you for your help. As they left, Mrs. Patterson called after them. Should I tell him you came by? Georgiana paused. No, that's okay. We'll call him. Back at the house, desperate, they searched online. Inheritance law attorney, Sarasota. Jeffrey Brennan, emergency consultation available. $400. That afternoon, they sat in his modest downtown office. My father inherited $30 million 2 months ago, Georgiana explained in a rush. He just told us via television. We're his only family. What are our rights? Brennan's expression didn't change. He'd heard stranger stories. Are you a beneficiary on his bank accounts? I don't know. In his will? Maybe. I used to be, years ago. Used to be doesn't help. Current will is what matters. He explained Florida law methodically. Inheritance is separate property. Adult children have no automatic claim. Florida law is clear on this. Adult children have no claim to parental assets during the parent's lifetime. But I'm his only child, his only family. Emotional relationship doesn't create legal obligation. If you were a minor dependent, different story. But you're 38, married, employed. Elmer leaned forward. So he can just keep everything, not share anything? It's his money to do with as he pleases. He could give it all to charity, spend it on cars, legally, his choice. What if he dies? Georgiana asked quietly. Then we inherit? Only if you're in his will, and wills can be changed any time. Understanding dawned on Georgiana's face. I don't know if I'm currently a beneficiary. Then you have no guarantees. I'm sorry. That'll be $400. Driving home, Georgiana had a realization. The house. We still have the house. He gave it to us 5 years ago. It's in our names. Elmer suddenly energized. The house is worth $850K. We sell it, clear our debts, we're fine. They rushed home, tore through their file cabinet, found the deed in a folder marked House Papers. Georgiana called Sarah Chen, the real estate attorney they had contacted months ago. Sarah, we're ready to list the property. How quickly can we sell? Market's good. Comparable homes selling in 30 to 45 days. But first, I need to review the deed. Any encumbrances I should know about? Georgiana hesitated. My father, when he transferred the house, he kept something. Life estate? Sharp intake of breath from Chen. You have a life estate holder? Is he still living? Yes. Then you cannot sell without his written consent. The life estate supersedes your ownership for purposes of sale. But it's in our names. We own it. You own it subject to his life estate. Think of it as you own a locked box, but he has the only key. Can we buy out his life estate? Only if he agrees to sell it. And given market rates, a life estate on an $850K property for a 67-year-old man, probably valued at $300,000 minimum. Can you afford that? Georgiana thought of their debt. No. Then you need his cooperation. Without it, that house can't be sold until he's gone. And he's not talking to us. Then you have a problem. I'm sorry. The call ended. Georgiana and Elmer sat in the living room. My living room, my furniture, my life estate. Surrounded by evidence of their failure. They couldn't access the inheritance. Couldn't sell the house. Couldn't even reach me. $180,000 in debt. Creditors calling. Bills due. The trap had closed completely. That evening, Elmer retreated to the garage. Georgiana could hear him throwing things. She sat at the computer in my old study. They'd painted over my careful organization, turned it into their office, opened email, typed my address. Subject line, I'm sorry, Dad. She wrote through tears, admitted the ticket was cruel, admitted they wanted me gone, admitted the debt, all of it, itemized, admitted they'd planned to sell the house after I left. I don't expect you to forgive me, she typed. I don't deserve it, but please, if you ever love me, please come home. Please let us talk. I'm so sorry. She read it 3 times, cried harder each time, then clicked send. The sent confirmation appeared. Now she could only wait, knowing I'd blocked her, not knowing if email was blocked too. In the garage, Elmer opened another drink. This is your fault, he said when she appeared in the doorway. Your father, your problem. My fault, you're the one who suggested the ticket. I suggested getting him out of our hair. You agreed, you handed him the box. Because you convinced me he was a burden. He was a burden, still is. Now he's a rich burden who won't help his own family. We're not his family anymore, Georgiana's voice broke. We gave up that right when we tried to throw him away. So what do? We're $180,000 in debt, bills due, creditors calling. I'm writing him an email, apologizing. Elmer laughed bitterly. You think sorry fixes this? He went on television, Georgie. He planned this. I know. She wiped her eyes. And we deserve it. She left him in the garage and returned to the computer, checked email obsessively. No response. The house, my house, felt different now. Not theirs, borrowed, precarious. Every room held evidence of my former life. The kitchen I'd cooked in, the study where I'd graded papers, the bedroom where Catherine and I had slept. They'd been living in my generosity for 5 years, mistaking it for their own achievement. Now they understood the difference. Georgiana checked her phone again. 47 attempted contacts. 0 successful. Outside, in Vancouver, I was sleeping peacefully. Inside their panic, they were learning what I'd already known. That kindness withdrawn feels like cruelty. That gifts can have conditions. That family is earned, not assumed. And that $30 million changes everything, especially when you don't have access to it. I landed at Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on June 21st, pulling my single suitcase through the familiar terminal. The Vancouver conference had been productive. Academic sessions, networking, normal professorial activities. But my mind had been on Florida. On June 13th, after the 48-hour block expired, I'd unblocked their numbers. 47 new messages flooded in. I read everyone, from angry to desperate to pleading. Georgiana's email had arrived June 12th. I read it 5 times in my hotel room, then forwarded it to Stanford via secure email. Dad, I'm so sorry. We were wrong. What we did was cruel and thoughtless. She'd admitted everything. The debt, $180,000, itemized. The plan to sell the house. The ticket meant to get rid of me. Even Elmer's bar conversations, though she didn't know I'd recorded them. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But please, if you ever love me, please come home. Please let us talk. At baggage claim, I watched families reuniting, children hugging parents, genuine love, genuine connection. I thought about what I'd lost, what Georgiana had thrown away. I collected my bag, drove to my apartment, unpacked methodically. Conference materials went to recycling. The leather portfolio from Stanford still held all the legal documents, including the house revocation papers. I placed them on my desk beside a printout of Georgiana's email, 2 documents, her admission, my nuclear option. That evening, I typed a response. I'm back in Sarasota. We'll meet tomorrow, 2 p.m. at my attorney's office. Both of you, address below, don't be late. Send, brief, controlled, setting the terms. The next morning, I arrived at Stanford's office an hour early. You're sure about this approach? Stanford asked. You could just revoke the house now. You have grounds. I could, but she's still my daughter. She gave you a one-way ticket on your birthday. I know, and that's why there are conditions, not forgiveness. She gets one chance to prove she can change. And Elmer? Elmer's the poison, but forcing them apart isn't my role. If she chooses to stay with him despite this, that's her decision. We reviewed the agreement we'd drafted over email while I was in Vancouver. Every clause carefully worded, enforceable, specific. Stanford read aloud. Condition 1. Mandatory family therapy, 6 months minimum, weekly sessions. I interrupted. Not just attendance, participation. The therapist needs to report monthly on genuine engagement. Stanford made the note. The rent? $500 is far below market, he observed. Why so low? It's not about money, it's about principle. They need to physically write a check to me every month, acknowledging who actually controls their housing. Stanford nodded, understanding the psychology. At 1:55, I watched from the 10th floor window. Georgiana's car pulled into the parking lot. She and Elmer got out separately. No interaction, obvious tension. 5 minutes later, the receptionist buzzed. Mr. Watkins, your guests are here. Stanford and I exchanged a look. Ready? Yes. We walked to the conference room. Georgiana stood when I entered. She looked terrible. Weight loss, dark circles, worn clothing. Financial pressure showing. She moved toward me. Dad, I held up a hand. Sit, please. She sat. Elmer didn't stand, didn't greet me, just glared. I sat across from them, Stanford beside me. The power dynamic was crystalline. "Thank you for coming," I began. "I received your email, Georgiana." Hope flashed across her face. "Dad, I meant every word. Let me finish." My hand rose again. "I acknowledge your apparent remorse. Whether it's genuine, time will tell." Elmer leaned forward. "Apparent remorse? She's been crying for 2 weeks." I ignored him, kept my eyes on Georgiana. "Actions have consequences. You both made choices. Now we address those choices." "Whatever you want," Georgiana whispered. "Anything. Just please." I'm prepared to offer a path forward, but it requires commitment, honesty, and accountability. Are you capable of that? "Yes, absolutely." I finally looked at Elmer. "Both of you?" Long pause. "What kind of path?" I slid the agreement across the polished table. It came to rest directly between them. "Read it. Take your time. Ask questions." Georgiana picked it up with trembling hands. Elmer crossed his arms, refused to touch it. I waited, patient, no expression. "Condition 1, I said quietly. "Family therapy, 6 months minimum, weekly sessions. I'll pay. You'll attend and participate honestly." "Yes," Georgiana breathed. "Of course." Condition 2, "Elmer, you'll find full-time employment within 30 days and keep it for 1 year minimum. That's non-negotiable. Stability, responsibility, contribution." His jaw clenched. "I've been looking for work." "Then you have 30 days to succeed." Condition 3, "You'll pay me $500 monthly rent for the house." Elmer stood. "Rent? For our own house?" My voice stayed level. "My house, which I allow you to occupy. The rent acknowledges that reality." Georgiana pulled him back down. "We'll pay it. We will." I continued through the remaining terms: monthly proof of employment, therapy participation reports, good faith compliance with all conditions. After 1 year, if conditions are met, I'll review your financial situation. Consider assistance with your debts. Maybe. Maybe? Elmer's voice dripped contempt. "That's all you get. Maybe, based on genuine change, not performance." "This is humiliating." He slammed his hand on the table. "You're treating us like children." "No." My voice dropped, ice cold. "Children aren't responsible for their actions. You're adults who made adult choices. We gave you a gift, a vacation. You gave me a one-way ticket on my 65th birthday to get rid of me so you could sell my house. That's not... I have recordings of you in a bar, Elmer, telling your friends the old man will be gone soon and you'll clear your problems with the house sale." Silence. His face drained of color. "So, don't pretend this was kindness. It was calculated dismissal. This," I gestured at the agreement, "is accountability." Stanford slid 2 documents forward. Document 1, agreement to terms. Sign, comply, you have a path forward. Document 2, notice of gift revocation. If you refuse, we file today. You're in court in 30 days, evicted in 90. Georgiana reached immediately. Elmer grabbed her wrist. "Don't sign anything yet." They argued in harsh whispers, her desperate, him angry. Finally, she pulled free and signed. 3 pages, Georgiana Watkins Clarkson in shaking script. Elmer stared at her signature, at my expressionless face, at Stanford's professional patience. He signed, "Elmer J. Clarkson," aggressive strokes that nearly tore the paper. Stanford witnessed, dated, made copies. I stood, buttoned my jacket, picked up my copy, tucked it under my arm. "Therapy information will be emailed tonight. First session is June 29th, 10 a.m. Don't be late." I looked at Elmer. "Employment applications start Monday. You have 30 days. At the door, I paused. "This is your chance. Don't waste it." I walked out, Stanford following. Behind us, Georgiana's quiet crying, Elmer's angry breathing. We left the door open, let them sit with their choices. 2 months later, late August, I sat reviewing monthly reports at my kitchen table. Dr. Rebecca Soames's therapy summary for July. Attendance, 4 sessions. Georgiana demonstrates genuine engagement, exploring family dynamics and personal accountability. Elmer attends, but participates minimally, often deflecting. Employment verification from Coastal Logistics. Elmer Clarkson, warehouse manager, Hired June 28th, current status, active. Bank records, 2 deposits. July 15th, $500. August 15th, $500. Both labeled Rent G. Watkins Clarkson. Surface compliance. But something felt wrong, too smooth, too cooperative after such resistance. I called Stanford. Run a background check, quietly. I want to know if they're consulting other attorneys. 2 days later, he called back. Elmer met with Bradley Collins, a state litigation specialist, 3 times in the past month. I absorbed this silently. Topic: challenging your will. He's asking about undue influence claims, diminished capacity based on your age. The irony wasn't lost on me, arguing I was too old and vulnerable while simultaneously complying with conditions I'd imposed. Collins told him it's weak, unlikely to succeed. But the consultations happened, while Elmer was attending your therapy, working his job, paying rent. Surface compliance while planning to override my decisions. Exactly. What do you want to do? File revocation, full evidence, today. The hearing came quickly. August 28th, Sarasota County Courthouse. I arrived with Stanford and a banker's box of evidence. Every piece of documentation we'd gathered over 4 months. Georgiana arrived with Jeffrey Brennan, the attorney who'd told them they had no inheritance rights back in June. Elmer looked defiant in a suit bought for the occasion. Judge Margaret Williams presided, late 50s, experienced, no nonsense. Revocation of gift deed based on constructive eviction and breach of good faith, she read. Mr. Stanford, present your evidence. For 2 hours, Stanford methodically built the case. The detective's report. The bar recording, Elmer's voice filling the courtroom. The old man's taking a permanent vacation. House is worth $850 easy. The one-way ticket in its plastic sleeve. Georgiana's admission email. The recent consultations with Collins. Each piece adding weight. Brennan called Georgiana to testify. Do you love your father? She cried. Yes, I do. I made terrible mistakes, but I love him. Stanford's cross-examination was surgical. Mrs. Clarkson, when did you learn your husband was consulting an estate attorney? She froze. What? Answer the question. July, mid-July. And you didn't inform your father? I told Elmer to stop. I thought he would. But he didn't. He consulted again in August. Did you tell your father about July? Quietly. No. So while your father was paying for your therapy, accepting your rent, giving you a chance to prove change, you were withholding information about your husband's attempts to undermine him. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't want to ruin our chance. You didn't want to face consequences for enabling bad behavior. Again. Judge Williams reviewed the evidence for 30 minutes without speaking. Then she looked up. The original gift was made in context of family relationship with certain reasonable expectations. Those expectations, mutual respect, good faith, honoring the life estate holder's dignity, were systematically violated. Brennan tried to interrupt. Your Honor, my clients have been complying. Superficial compliance while simultaneously seeking to undermine the donor's testamentary wishes is not good faith, counselor. She looked at the evidence. The bar recording alone demonstrates intent to constructively evict. The one-way ticket demonstrates execution of that intent. The recent attorney consultations demonstrate ongoing bad faith. Gavel. Gift revocation granted. Defendants have 30 days to vacate. Court costs assessed to defendants. We're adjourned. Done. I sold the house quickly. $850,000 cash buyer, mid-September closing. The entire proceeds went to establishing the Catherine Watkins Foundation for Elder Dignity and Rights, Florida nonprofit, chartered to prevent elder abuse and support victims, her name doing good, preventing others from experiencing what I'd endured. For myself, I purchased a small cottage in Siesta Key, $425,000 from my inheritance, modest but peaceful. Oceanfront, my own space finally. Late September, I drove to the old house one final time, moving truck in the driveway, boxes lining the walk, Georgiana alone. Elmer had left 2 weeks earlier, their separation inevitable after everything. She saw my car, stopped packing, waited on the porch. I walked up slowly. Father and daughter, 2 people who used to be family. I'm sorry, she said, for everything. I know that doesn't matter now, but I am. I nodded slowly. I believe you're sorry you lost. I'm less certain you're sorry about what you did. She flinched. Maybe someday you'll understand the difference. I paused, choosing my final words carefully. I loved you as a daughter, but love without respect isn't love. It's just obligation wearing love's costume. Will I ever see you again? I don't know. Maybe when you understand what you lost, not just what it cost you. I turned, walked to my car. In the rearview mirror, she stood on the porch of the house she was losing, finally understanding what she'd thrown away. I drove to my new cottage, oceanfront, peaceful, alone. The foundation documents sat on my table, Catherine's legacy, my purpose. $30 million hadn't bought me family, but it had bought me justice, dignity, and the power to help others. I'd taught accountability for 30 years. Now I'd lived it. The sun set over the Gulf of Mexico, painting everything gold. I poured coffee, stood at my window, watched the waves, at peace. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.